In today's video, we're going to focus in on Costco. Now, while we look at the volatility in Costco, we'll contrast this with the volatility we saw inside of tech stocks today. The Qs were a whole different story compared to individual tickers inside of tech stocks, and I want to cover all of that in today's video and share why I think out of everything we look at, Costco is actually one of the stocks giving us some of the best setups right now and the best opportunities. Now let's start first with Costco on the daily time frame to figure out our why. Now on the daily time frame, Costco has been pulling back, and of course Costco has been one of those stocks on a crazy tear, especially since that special dividend. Now we are getting this pullback, and in this pullback, I of course drew out some Fibonacci levels. We have really a handful of levels. I call it two different clusters. The first cluster, really, if you had to say one major price point here, I would say this is a cluster around the $800 price mark, a few different levels around there, but really we're hoping for price to stop somewhere here. And the second cluster is closer to that $700 mark. Now in Costco, this $800 level looks very attractive. These Fibonacci levels, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 different Fibonacci levels, all tell us that in the past, Costco tends to find support somewhere in this region after it's pulled back. That means typically in Costco, the pullbacks that we see are anywhere between 10 to 12%. Now with that, we're trying to figure out, okay, well, we have this general region. Where do we want to buy? That's where the volatility box models come into play. Now in Costco today, ever since the morning, we had the sell-off straight into our volatility box model. So that was near the 806 price level, overlapping fairly nicely with that topmost Fibonacci level, 806.86. The beginning of the clouds is really where I'm looking at for a potential entry, and once price breaches this, we now wait for momentum to show us signs of reversing. Now in the case of Costco, you can see the different signs here. You had an edge signal, you had a momentum cross, you had a second momentum cross. All around here, this is where Costco started to build its base, and we see the rally into the close. Now all of this happened around 11 a.m. Pacific, and if we come back to the daily time frame here, we can see that with the way today's close happened, it doesn't feel unlikely that we will break below even this low, somewhere near this $800 price mark. But we are starting to see wicks on the bottom end, telling you that buyers are in fact stepping in. They are buying these lows. So in Costco, the idea of this $800 price mark, especially if we get the same setup as we did today, but tomorrow as well, where this overlaps with 800, I think is a really nice opportunity. Now, for those of you that maybe find Costco a little too rich for your blood, there's also tech stocks that gave you similar volatility today. We'll take a look at a few today. So this is post-hours activity, but if we zoom into what happened during the day here, Microsoft was one of those stocks reporting earnings today, sold off, hit our volatility box levels. We had the first bounce, second bounce, then the lunchtime hour. Go figure. As soon as the lunchtime hour ends, you can see how we're building that base, and the buyers step right back in for a really nice rally all the way up until this puke for the actual earnings release. So Microsoft was a really nice stock to trade for today's activity. Another nice one was Meta. Meta, same thing, hit our volatility box models almost perfectly here compared to even Microsoft. And then we had this nice reversal. There were also stocks like Apple and Google, which did not have anywhere near the same volatility that we just saw in Microsoft. Inside of Apple, I have to actually shrink this y-axis for us to be able to see the upper and the lower clouds. Same thing if I load in Google, you'll notice that Google didn't get anywhere close to its upper-lower volatility box models. Take a look at NVIDIA, and you'll see how NVIDIA's volatility much greater than even Microsoft. And if we contrast this with AMD, you'll get a chance to see that volatility returning. So tech today offered a lot of different opportunities where volatility was picking up, along with different places where that volatility was muted. The live scanner gave you a running list of all of the places in which we had that volatility today. And even on the overlap tab, we had some large names like the Qs, TQQQ. We even had the Qs actually hit our volatility models. A lot of different places where volatility came striking back in today's price action, and a lot of places where you could take advantage of it. So today, Costco, out of all of these stocks, is still the one that stands out, mostly because we're getting a pullback into those Fibonacci levels. We're getting more controlled volatility than what we saw in the tech sector, and we're getting a nice pullback in a stock that doesn't really have pullbacks all that often. So Costco's the one that wins it for me in today's video, but a lot of different places where that volatility is starting to pick up and places where you can take advantage of that volatility and use that to make some consistent profits. Take care, everyone. Good luck trading, and I'll see you in our next update.